Today we are at Manor and Maker with our fellow North Americans. So when we met them, we immediately felt a kinship.
Indeed.
Yes. So, but today we're going to talk about, as you may be familiar with their channel of the same name, and they bought a chateau.
Oh, that we did.
Which I think is a frequent dream of many Americans. There's like a certain mystique and magic. We don't have chateaus scattered across our country the way France does.
It's true.
So especially not ones that sometimes now cost the same as a house in any major U.S. city.
Yeah.
So there's a dream there, right? You know, you buy a chateau, you open a business, and you drink champagne from coffee cups in the morning.
Why are we drinking tea? Where is my champagne? I am a Chateau, gosh darn it.
So in this video, we wanted to interview them to just talk about some of the things, if this is your dream, right? Like, what are the things that you want to be thinking about and be aware of? What are what are those pitfalls that you want to know about ahead of time? What are the ingredients when people are successful at pulling off buying a chateau, maintaining it, running a business? What are some of the ingredients that are there usually that create a successful business? So we'll let them take it away. I wanted to start with, how did you guys end up coming to France?
It's a long story that I'll try and shorten a little bit, but it basically started with us. 10 years ago? No, it was almost 15 years ago now that we started.
5 years.
We started talking about moving to Europe. Sarah and I have the advantage of not only being Canadian, but we do have British citizenship. So that was one of those things where we kind of went, okay, well, maybe there's an opportunity for us to move to Europe. But if we were going to move, we needed to figure out why we were moving, and also to have a plan for what we would do when we did move.
All good questions.
So then, the Brexit vote happened in the UK, and we were no longer going to be European under our passports.
So Brexit affected Canadian citizens too?
No, British citizens.
British.
Because we hold British passports, we have dual citizenship. So if
Vice versa, we're both British citizens and we have British passports.
Okay.
So if Britain hadn't left the EU, we would have been fine. We would have been moved here, and we would have been European.
Okay.
But because they moved, or they left the EU, it meant that Britons were now also subject to the same things that North Americans are, as far as visas and being able to work here. So when we saw that was happening, we started to decide, because initially we were going to move to the UK. We were thinking about moving to the UK. And then we started to think, what side of Brexit did we want to be on? And
we're going to flame up the comments on that one.
Yeah. For us, it was...
Well, they forced the issue, so it wasn't us.
I didn't vote.
Yeah, exactly. Neither of us voted in that. But I think for us, because we had been to France a number of times, we always seemed to gravitate back towards France. There was something that really pulled at our heartstrings here. So we started then looking into France, and we were on a trip here actually, and started looking at real estate, and went, okay, it's more affordable than we were expecting, particularly in the rural areas.
Over by Beaune. B-A-U-N-E.
So, once we started realizing that there was an opportunity there where we could actually afford to move to France, we started looking at it a little more seriously. Then good old COVID came by, and we ended up both working at home. I was already working at home, but Sarah, her office closed, and we were sitting beside each other one day, and
Steve asked the question that every girl wants to hear. Which is, of course, what would have to be true for us to buy a chateau in France? Wow. That is the question every girl wants to hear, really.
We had been watching the British programs, the Escape to the Chateau DIY.
And we'd already been looking anyway.
And for us, so that's what sort of drew us to France. France was one of those things, it's a love thing for us. It was, we wanted to be in Europe. When we started looking at it, yes, there was a language barrier. Fortunately, my lovely wife Sarah here has
I've heard you.
French.
You speak pretty good French,
Yes, so she's saved our bacon more often than I'd like to admit. I'm still working on mine.
Well, it's worth noting that as Canadians, we are required to study French through school.
But I ended mine when everybody else does at grade
16. 11. And whereas I chose to keep mine up. So whenever I had the opportunity to speak to colleagues, I would listen to Radio Canada. When podcasts came along, I would do that. So
have you gotten much crap about Quebecy French?
Québécois.
Thank you. That was the word. I was like, this is the wrong word I'm about to say.
Québécois. the joke is when I introduce myself to when French people ask me where we're from, I say, nous sommes Canadiens de la partie anglophone, pas Québec, désolé, which basically means we're from the English-speaking part, not Quebec. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So, because of course most French people are familiar with Quebec and not much else of Canada, right? So basically, I have to apologize for not having a Quebecois accent.
Oh, how
Yeah.
funny! That's not what I would have expected. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because they're expecting it. But I love this, what you said, what would have to be true for us to do this? That's such a great way to frame it when you're thinking about this.
Yeah.
But where did the chateau come in then? Because there is a bit of a leap there, right?
Yeah.
You can move to France and not buy a chateau.
Well,
what happened?
But going back to the idea that if we were going to move to Europe, we needed to figure out why we were going to be here and how to make money.
Yeah.
And both of us are patrons of the arts, artists ourselves. I'm a painter, Sarah does sewing. And we started looking at figuring out a way to bring people together to enjoy art together. And for us to be able to make that business happen, we needed a facility that was going to be big enough.
Right.
So it was either going to be we have a small house and we would rent somewhere or have another facility, or we look at the chateau community. Yeah. And there was a lot available. So
it's the idea of being geeky together, right? So we're really geeky, and for the first time in my life, I get to be unapologetically geeky. I don't have to hide the geeky side of myself, right?
Yeah. Juliana enjoys that when we hang out with you guys.
Yeah. Exactly. If we want to talk about historical costuming and the sewing involved, I am there for it.
Yeah.
Right?
She'll say something to me and she'll never mind, Sarah would know about this.
And it's just it's that idea of being unapologetically into whatever you're into, right? Yeah. And so when you can bring people together who share that same passion, and they don't have to apologize for having that passion because the other people get it, that's the feeling we're after, right? That's the business we wanted.
The connection and community, which ironically I have found much more throughout France in general. So it's a great place to gather for that kind of thing. Yeah. So had you guys been in the hospitality business before or anything what was your background?
No, obviously, I spent my career doing HRIS, which is the intersection of HR and IT. So it was I was in charge of the team that calculated your bonus and how much time off you were entitled to. And generally, I was a mid-level executive, and I was responsible for about $10 million worth of software and blah, blah, blah. And so obviously, that's what I did as a complete introvert before just seeing all that and deciding to dive into hospitality.
So dramatic. Okay,
perfectly normal.
And for me, I was a creative director and a graphic designer. I'm freelance for the last 5 years back in Canada. But we one thing that we did have is we both were kind of used to running teams, or working with other people.
I have a lot of analyst skills. I have a lot of business skills. I have a lot of things that are relevant to running any business, right? Yeah. And the nice thing about HR is that it covers such a wide gamut of any business. You have to intersect with any business on any level. So I'm kind of used to adapting to whatever is coming at me. So
Whereas I'm the creative side of things. I float away and make it look pretty. Yes, exactly. Yeah. To an extent. There obviously the design thinking is something that is beneficial, I think, as well. Just sort of thinking through problems from a design perspective is a little more than just artsy-fartsy creating art.
It is. That's part of my life coaching, one of my life coaching certifications is in design thinking for your life. Yeah,
there you go.
Exactly. Because it is a problem solving.
That's it. It's all about problem solving. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all about looking at a problem and going and trying to find a direction to it. And so that's kind of what drew us to this facility and the business that we wanted to run. So.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys had a business idea. I think this is interesting because. Would you agree that there's a common misconception that I'll just buy a chateau and because it's a chateau, people will come?
Yes.
Right.
Versus, it sounds like you guys had a business idea.
Yes.
And then you were like, we need a place for that.
Yes.
So the business idea came first.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say so.
And we decided if we were going to bring people together to be geeky, then we needed a house that could accommodate them. Yeah. And then, of course, there is the romantic aspect of a chateau. People don't mind generally coming to chateau, most people. Some people prefer modern living, and that's fine. But for our people, they might be geeky about history. They might be geeky about all sorts of things, old furniture design, sort of the solid construction versus the whimsy, what do they call it, MDF that we get now? Anyway.
Yes, exactly.
So, there's all kinds of things to get geeky about. But For us, yeah, it was about we need a building to accommodate that. So we looked for specifically a property that would accommodate.
Yeah.
Well, and it also was a deselection criteria for us.
Yeah.
That's what I was about to ask about next. How you, because then you start to have an image of you in your mind of what you want this to look like, who you're buying this, the vision that you have for the kind of people who are going to be at the chateau, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, there are those people, and we have friends who are like this, who will buy a chateau that is derelict, and they want to reconstruct it and bring it back to its glory.
Yeah.
And their project is about social media,
That's right.
Yeah.
So they've bought it to do a channel, right? That's their business model. It's not necessarily hospitality. It's not necessarily any given thing. It's I'm going to do a YouTube channel because YouTube loves DIY, which is absolutely true, right? So
would you say that many of those people have followings and a social media presence going into the project, or do they start it with the project?
It depends. We've seen both.
Okay.
I think we're seeing a few more pop up now who do seem to have a following to start with, who are then parlaying that into a project like a chateau restoration. Others, there was sort of a groundswell. I think television programs certainly helped to build interest in it.
Yeah.
And then they sort of went off and started doing YouTube channels, and that drew that crowd from there. So it's an evolving thing though, I think, with us.
Collaborations are great, right?
Yeah.
They lift, a rising tide lifts all boats. So wherever you can collaborate with people and get people to launch you, if that's your business model, do that first. Start trying to build a bit of a follow, build your story, and try to lift through that.
Yeah. So what would you say are common business models then for chateaus? Because like obviously for you guys, it's more the retreat business.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're out here, the wind's picking up a little. But so the retreat business, and then you mentioned some people who maybe they went into it with the intention to build social media around that, which means making money through partnerships and sponsorships and
Patreon and
things like that. What are some other models that you guys have seen for businesses and chateaus?
Well, I mean, a lot of it is hospitality based, so you can just simply do like B&B weekends and provide food, and
there's different levels of hospitality, right? Like you can do it kind of Airbnb style or chambre d'hôte or table d'hôte, so you have the rooms, or you have the rooms and food, and those are all like one section of French hospitality, and then you can add on layers from there. So our retreat business has to be centered around the chateau because we're a table d'hôte, so we can't go organizing things in Bordeaux for our guests to go to, right? Otherwise you get into tour operator level, right? So you kind of have to, you really want to understand the tourism industry if you're going to get into it, because France has been doing this a lot longer than anybody else, and they have a lot of really well-defined rules, shall we say, and you want to make sure that you're staying on the right side of those. So I don't know. Our chateau friends are either working regular jobs, right? So we have friends who are still in the IT industry, and and the chateau is their home. Period. End of story. We have YouTubers.
We even have retirees that just literally bought chateau and decided to live in. I mean, there are the ones that, we do have a friend who, bought literally 4 walls without a roof and is reconstructing the chateau. And he's doing that via YouTube revenue and all the rest of it. And he's doing a great job. So.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. And he organized himself to get a really good launch for that channel. And then it's a really great story. So he's doing really well. So if you guys know Dan out in the world, that's him.
Yeah. I do not.
What is it?
I don't know.
Dan Preston. It's
Escape to the
Rural Chateau.
I know that channel. Yeah.
Rural France.
Yeah, I know that channel.
Sorry,
I don't know him.
Yeah.
We know him. We don't know him well. We know him.
Well, you guys are more in the chateau verse. I feel like that's we're chateau verse adjacent.
Adjacent, yes.
Well, that was our way in as well. Was we one of the things that worked for our benefit and is something that is, I think, unique to us or to the other people in the community, in the chateau community, is we got to meet them early on. A few people that have YouTube channels who were on the television program, and that really helped us have a soft landing when we got here, because there was already a group of people that were facing the same sort of issues that we were with the properties, and we could rely on, we could talk to, we could sort of commiserate with.
No, that's more important than you would think.
Yes.
The other big one is obviously weddings.
Yes,
right?
that's correct.
So a lot of people would go in to do really big events.
Okay.
And you really need to do your research, because basically what you need to do is become an ERP, an entreprise recevant le public, a company that receives the public.
Yeah.
And then you need to do all the health and safety associated with that. Right. So what might have been a private home needs to become something that's more public, like an event space. So you need to do all your health and safety, your exit planning, making sure you have all your fire plan, everything signed off by the mairie, by the sous-prefecture, by the different levels.
I think you need to do side consulting about this. It's just hearing you talk about that.
Well, we're launching weddings this year, and I'm going through that right now.
Yeah.
So, but being an analyst, I'm quite happy to dig into these things and try to figure out all the ins and outs. And I'm a rule follower. So
being an analyst, I'm glad that she's willing to do these things too, because I'm certainly not.
I feel like Jason and I are like the opposite of the two. You know, right? But like while sometimes I think it's interesting because when you're working with your partner and they are very different than you, the way your brain works.
Yep.
I think it can lead to like. Obviously, sometimes you're just seeing things differently, so you don't agree. But the beauty of that is that each of you like doing different things.
Yes,
and they're both necessary.
And if they dovetail nicely together, like Sarah's business side, my creative side, you know, like, it really does make it work well.
I do the website building, shall we say, and then we worked with a UX friend of ours to get the UX right. But then I was running into a problem where we had a lot of dates across multiple years and a lot of prices across multiple events. So there was multiple variables. So you could come double occupancy, you could come early bird, and you could come May or you could come October. And it was like, when it gets to organizing that much information in a way that's digestible to people, that's where I turn to Steve and his design skills and be like, how do I organize this hierarchically so it's clear for people so that they can make sense of all the options that are being presented, because there's a lot. And so knowing what your partner's strengths are is really
absolutely
a huge part of that. And also being able to relinquish the control of that once you've asked for their help.
That's key.
That is key.
You have to trust.
The help.
Yeah. No, that's really true. And it's funny. I didn't mean to bring this up, but I'm kind of glad we're talking about it, because I do think when I see people do these sorts of businesses as they move to France, not many people have worked with their spouse before this. I mean, I guess I don't know that, but that's probably my assumption, because usually you haven't necessarily been in that situation, and it can be its whole own thing to manage like this. Now you've got like your colleagues and you have this other context.
Right.
You've got multiple contexts and you're together all the time.
And we all, I mean, if you came from other jobs, we all have our work faces.
Yeah.
Right? And kind of like our little work mask. And then when you put that mask on in front of your spouse, you're like, whoa, who's this person?
Exactly.
Who are
you to tell me what I'm supposed to do?
You're not the boss of me.
Oh my God, this is true. And actually, it's funny. I'm glad we're talking about it, because it is something else to consider when you're doing this. That
100%.
Communication.
And figuring out your lanes, what part you want to be in. It's, oh my gosh,
Well, and it's communication's obviously absolute paramount in that kind of relationship. But on top of that, it's also going, right, okay, it's your day to have a breakdown.
Yes.
I'll take over.
That's true. You have to do it on different days. I think that is the moving to France thing in general. That is the thing, right? Is like, you know,
it's
I remember
balancing each other.
The first year I remember there would be days that I was like, what do we do? Maybe we should just go back to the US, right? And we just tried not to those to be the same day.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I'm gonna have a breakdown today, honey. Okay, all right. I got it.
I've got enough stored up to be able to get through today. But tomorrow you're going to need to.
And if you move here on your own, you just got to like kind of find that person who's also moved and put each other on speed dial.
Or give yourself permission to take a break.
Give yourself exactly.
Because when you're trying to start your own business, as you know, anybody who's entrepreneured before will know, the impulse to keep going, that you're never doing quite enough, that you're not getting it all done, that the administration's getting ahead of you. God damn, the accounting is getting ahead of you. Pardon my language. You know, like trying to keep on top of everything, the overwhelm is real. So you need to give yourself a chance to take a break, right?
Yeah. Well, and that brings me to another question, which is like, I think oftentimes people are thinking when they're still like, you know, all four of us were like mid-career, right? You know, we're not, retirement is not quite over the hill yet. Like it's not, I can't see it yet.
You know? Got some time, but it's there and it's still.
It's not as far as it used.
We bought a chateau, honey. There's
no retirement,
No, this is life.
We're standing down the one end of the tunnel and we can see the train entering on the other end. That's the way I look at it. That tunnel's getting longer, but
it's getting longer.
Further away.
Every roof tile you've got to replace now.
Exactly.
But I think, okay, so there is this idea that you're moving to France for like the slower pace of life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, I mean, can you get that when you buy a chateau? What does that look like? Is this like, I mean, what's your lifestyle and your life look like?
Oh, that is a good question.
It is a good question.
It's different.
It is different. I think, you're right. It's the slowing lifestyle of France is something that obviously attracted us, as it does to many people. I think we can experience that when we have our guests with us, and we sort of, we can showcase that to them. We almost see it through their eyes. But we are a little bit the duck floating on the water where the legs are flapping below. It's like, okay, right, I get to do the laundry right now, and we got to book that, and we got to run over here.
Gotta go iron those napkins.
So there is a bit of that. I mean, fortunately, because our season is really a summer season, the off season I was going to say the off season we get a little bit of chance, but the thing is we're preparing for the next season or doing maintenance on the house, or you get into the DIY projects and things like that.
But I will say the flip side of it is that we are very lucky to have many friends with lovely properties all over France, Château and other properties, and we have made such a lovely community here, both locally and in the other areas, that when we go to visit, we have just the most delightful parties, way better than any of the parties we had in Canada, as I will say,
friends' own chateaus,
as a mature adult, right? past our university years when we had such delightful parties then, like the house parties were great, but this is a whole other level of house party. When we get together, it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
And we feel really, really privileged.
Absolutely. I mean, when you think about it, you drive through France, you see these chateaus. I mean, let's face it, there's a lot of them.
There's a lot,
and you sort of dream about what's going in them. The fact that we have access to a number of them and see the insides, and it is a glamorous to an extent, and it is definitely a privilege. And then we sit down and we start going, okay, do you have a good roofer? Or, my God,
how much rebuild the dry stone wall that just fell down?
How much are you paying for fuel this year? Because, all that kind of things.
Okay, well, actually, let's switch to that. Let's talk about that next, because I think often, you're looking at these chateaus on, from the U.S., right? And it's like, wow, there's a chateau.
Good deal.
You're like, there's a chateau for like $750,000.
Oh my God.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can't even buy a house in Louisville, Colorado anymore for that. I mean, which was
Ontario's the same.
And I mean, just like a little, So, okay. What is that really, when you see that, what should you really be looking at, right? Like
double it.
Double it. Okay. Yeah. So talk about that. What do you look for when you look at a chateau that way?
You have to decide the compromise you're making. Okay, so you are to get a chateau at that price, because there's lots of really expensive chateau as well, and they got all the things.
Oh,
right?
Yes, I've seen many of those.
But
20 million. Here you are.
Exactly.
All done. Comes with the staff as well.
Yeah. We have friends who bought a chateau that came with staff. It was delightful.
Yeah.
They have formal gardens. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Lady of the Chateau Productions. You should check them out. They are amazing. Wow. They are just amazing hosts as well. They are lovely, lovely people.
Yeah.
Anyway. So you have to decide the trade-off that you're going to make. So for us, we wanted something that we could move into immediately, and that wouldn't require major reconstruction, that wasn't going to fall over, that wasn't at risk, and we could start the business quite quickly. That was a priority for us.
And often when you're on a visa, if you're an American coming, that is often...
You got to get up and running.
You've got to get it, France expects you to start making money and paying taxes.
Well, exactly. So, a lot of that will eliminate those lower price chateaux immediately, because of course
that's true, because
most of them are travaux à prévoir, is that what they say? Work to be foreseen. Yes, exactly.
Or don't know jus as well, like in their own juices. They haven't been dealt with in 100 years.
And you'll want to look at particularly the plumbing. So we had we have a friend who's a local realtor. She sold us this place, and we helped her sort of promote one of the other chateaux she's got on the market, and we went and did a tour with them. And it was 11 bedrooms. And there was one toilet room on the main floor and one toilet room on the second floor for 8 bedrooms.
And that's it.
And when I say toilet room, I'm being very specific, because it wasn't a bathroom. There was no bath. It was open an armoire.
It was literally built into an armoire.
And there is a toilet.
Part of me loves
There's not
this.
even a sink to wash your hands.
It's like Narnia. It just doesn't smell as good.
Narnia with a toilet.
Yeah.
That might be the title of this video. Okay.
So you'll want to look at, if you're planning to run hospitality, particularly
Yes.
weddings
Okay.
or something like that, you'll really need to understand the infrastructure in your building. Particularly the older it is, the older the infrastructure is likely to be. So if you were trying to, in our case, if we were trying to retrofit a 16th century building with 1.5 meter thick stone walls, you're not just going to like poke a hole in there to run a new exhaust tube
Yeah.
for a toilet.
There's no opening in that wall. It is solid.
Like, are you
Right.
putting the exhaust tube for the toilet on the inside? Ew. Or are you putting it on the exterior and ruining your facade? Ew.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So,
Okay.
like, choose
So
wisely.
Plumbing is the big.
Choose wisely.
Okay.
And electrical.
Roofs.
Roof.
Roofs is huge. If you can get one with a
roofs.
roof that's been redone, I mean,
Yeah.
you're not likely to get it for less than $1 million.
I've heard
but-
that that's why some families sell chateaus
Yes.
that have been in their families is because the roof needs to be replaced.
Yeah.
And no
Yeah.
joke, I mean, roofs here in France,
Yeah.
so much more expensive than the U.S.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
like, okay, so, I mean, obviously we're going to show pictures, but like, for example, do you have any idea how much it would cost if you guys needed to replace your roof?
Actually,
Yes, we do, because it came with a quote.
Yeah.
The Chateau came with a quote
Oh,
to
Lord.
replace that roof because there's a ticking time bomb up there. That was our compromise.
Wow.
So everything else inside is ready to run for hospitality. It was pretty good. We did
Yeah.
a little bit of paint and wallpaper, not a ton, and we were good to go, right? And then the ticking time bomb compromise is the roof.
Because you know it's coming
Yeah.
and it'll have to be done.
well, even to sell it, the previous owners had to patch a section that was finished already.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we know the rest of it is aging to the same
Yeah.
extent.
Do
Yeah.
you feel comfortable sharing how much it was?
I'm trying to remember, and I think the top of the tower and the roof were two separate quotes, and I want to say they were 50 and 70.
120,000, it sounds like, roughly.
5 years ago.
5 years ago.
Yeah.
So
Not slate.
not slate. Yeah. Okay. So
Right.
this is the thing I want to like really
Yeah.
emphasize is I think sometimes we will tell clients that we consult with just on regular houses, we're like, because like in Texas, it's always the foundation. Check the foundation,
Yes,
right?
of course.
And in France, it's the roof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the roof costs so much more
Yeah.
here than everything else. And I think people think, oh, it'll be a little bit. No,
No,
it's like
a lot.
Yeah, like
And you-
six
And it's
figures.
really important whether the structure is there or not, right?
Right,
That is
'cause if it's been
literally just
leaking-
replacing tiles for us.
Yeah.
Our
And you
structure
might-
is fine.
You
Yeah.
also
Oh,
might
this-
need
yeah.
a specialist, right?
Yeah.
Because this is not your average roofer is going to be able to go up there and put up asphalt shingles
True,
on
I
it,
can't-
right?
Yeah.
right,
You need
yeah.
to find someone who is qualified to
Yeah.
work on a roof this way. So the other consideration is the monument historique, which is basically if your property is listed here.
Okay.
Now you can list parts of a chateau, for example, the one that Sarah was talking about with the 2 bathrooms. The roof was brand new,
Oh,
but the roof is now listed. So in other words,
do you mean?
In other words, the roof is protected by the monument historique. Now you can do whatever else you want to the rest of the property, but you can't touch that roof.
Yeah.
And if your building is monument historique, then you have to go through a process to ask permission to do pretty much anything.
Like
okay,
even
wait,
paint
back it up,
colors.
back it up though, because I'm confused. Like, how could a roof be listed on the and it's new, so how can it be listed but the building is not?
Because
Yeah.
it maintains the integrity of the building.
Right.
Right? So it's all about the integrity. That's the big thing,
Okay.
right? So if you have a monument historique or you apply to become a monument historique, you get a lot of tax advantages.
Benefits.
Oh,
Yeah.
so that's the reason
And
to
grants.
However,
So,
Okay.
but the trade-off is that you have to, the compromise
Yeah.
is that you have to do everything by committee. And depending on what is listed, right?
Yeah.
So in this case, it was just the roof.
Yeah.
If you wanted to change a single tile in that roof, you would need to go through the monument historique
right.
to ensure that you weren't doing anything that would compromise the integrity and the structure of the building.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
So we
it's
looked
like
at properties that
freedom
had-
versus financial assistance.
Exactly.
That's it.
Honestly.
Yeah,
So-
and we have friends who are, they're doing major renovations and they're not listed.
Yeah.
And the idea is they're actually going to, because they're bringing it back to the standard that it was,
Yeah.
whatever, the 16th century, I think it is. And then they're going to list. So in other words, they're going to do the work that they want to get done,
Okay.
and then they'll list it, and it'll be protected, and it'll give them the benefits, which
Okay.
is a good way of going about it if you've got the funds to be able to obviously take
Yeah.
it back to that standard.
Right.
Because the problem is, even if you went and listed it, if you had gone and, like I say, put asphalt shingles on the roof, the Monument Historique could say, no, take those all off. It needs to be slate. And they will force you to do it. There's no middle ground there.
So if you were to decide to do what your friends are doing, you got to make sure you're doing everything to standard.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
it sounds like the benefit there would be you can do it more quickly.
Yeah, because you're not tethered by the association.
If you do the work ahead of time, the Monument Historique is not going to come into your house and go, you've chosen the wrong wallpaper, you've chosen the wrong paint color. Right? If you have a listed building, once your building is a Monument Historique, you will have to consult them to change the wallpaper and change the paint color.
Okay. But what about like like in this case, only the roof is that, not, so they don't have to ask about wallpaper because only their roof is?
Yeah.
And sometimes it can even be, sometimes it can be just the exterior of the building, and the interior you can do whatever you want to.
We looked at a place where just the staircase was listed. It was a stone staircase that had been done by a student of Viollet-le-Duc, and so just the staircase, it was like you couldn't touch a marble on that staircase, but anything else in the house.
Beautiful staircase, mind you.
Okay, so this is a super good thing to know. Like when you're looking at these, so it could be the whole building, it could be one specific piece, it could be just the exterior. So so this is like something to define.
Well, and we even asked the question. So our chapel in the village here, not a particularly spectacular chapel, however,
very pretty.
Yeah, very pretty, but it does have a painting in there that is listed on the Monument Historique. And there's 100 meters?
500.
500 meters, apparently. There's a space around it which is sort of can be affected by that listing.
So if you buy a property within 500 meters of a listed building, you also will have to consult the Monument Historique.
So that has happened. That's happened with us with there's a bridge, and you can't even see it. From where we are, but we had to get we're doing a new opening for our terrace, and so it had to be it had to get approved.
Right.
It couldn't be non-traditional,
to maintain the integrity.
It wasn't a big deal, but we did have to do it. Yeah. Even though our house is certainly not listed or anything like that. Okay.
But it's definitely a consideration when buying Château.
So what are other considerations? So the roof, the Monument Historique, the plumbing. What are the things that if your friend right now, if I was like, I think I'm going to buy a Château, look at this one. If you saw, what is the thing that if you saw, you'd be like, oh no.
Moats.
Moats.
Moats
are so pretty.
To the moats.
Yeah. Why?
So I will preface that by saying a moat is okay if it does not touch the foundation of your structure. But you find a lot of chateaux here. We've seen a number of them where the moat is literally right around the building. Of course that water, any engineer will tell you, water and structure is not a good thing combination. If you've got that much water there, it's going to cause problems.
It's absolutely stunning, but
is that fixable? Could you just
no.
Not easily.
No.
Again, it comes down to money. If you've got the money, then go for it. I mean, it is gorgeous, but it's and it gives you it's a beautiful thing to look at. You can have fish in there.
Constant plugging holes.
The other thing would be efficiencies. There's obviously you've mentioned before about the efficiency listings on real estate and how is it being heated? How is there insulation in the ceiling? Is there most of these chateaus? I mean, ours doesn't have insulation in the ceiling, for example, on the third floor. So we do have central heating and it works. However, all that heat just goes straight out the roof. Right. So the colder it gets, the harder it is to heat.
And what are heating bills to on average to heat how many square feet are?
You can't compare. Every chateau is different. So we could give you numbers, but they'd be completely irrelevant. Right. Because particularly our chateau is unusual in that it's a big cube. Right. So it's kind of en carré. Everything kind of comes off one giant center room. Most of the chateaux that our friends have are enfilade, so all in a row. So they're room to room to room, and then one room deep. Right. And heating those is completely different than heating one giant space. Right. It's much easier to heat individual spaces there than say in our situation.
I get that.
You have to get really good at closing doors. Particularly in enfilade, because you're going from room, close the door.
Oh, gosh,
open, close, open, close, as you go through the chateau.
But don't lose your dog or your keys.
No. But I was thinking, I can think the point I wanted to make is that because the efficiencies and the way the buildings are built, and these buildings are so old, are so different than the U.S. I think, and And energy is more expensive here.
Yeah. Yes.
Like I think you really, whatever you're thinking it would cost to heat a chateau, like double that or triple that. Yeah.
Triple.
Yeah.
I mean, it's many thousands of dollars a year to heat a chateau.
Absolutely.
Many thousands.
If you want to heat it to a comfortable level.
Right, yeah. If you're willing to just bundle up inside.
We're Canadian, so we are like, we go with the...
This is part of your secret weapon.
Yeah.
In the winter, you don't go for heat the chateau, you go for heat the person.
Yeah.
Right? So
That's a great,
You do like
Don't
small
heat the chateau,
pockets,
heat
or
the
you
person.
put yourself down in front of the fireplace and you have a nice little heated pad and you put on an extra sweater and you have your blankie and you heat the person.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Don't try to heat the whole space to 20 degrees because you'll never get it, whatever that is in American moves.
and you'll
like
go bankrupt.
Mid-60s.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, it's and we heat individual rooms as well. Like we have
our
5
bedrooms
guest
warm.
rooms, and the guest rooms we turn off the heating in there. So you walk in and they're freezing compared to
but
the
no
rest
one's
of
in
us.
there, so
No one's there.
no one
Yeah.
cares.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so what are things that you think like make for a successful chateau owner business? Like what are
Well, take the rose-colored glasses off first. That would be number one.
you can't get too carried away in the beauty of the place and what it could be.
I mean, you can to a point, but
it is
but
part
the
of the
reality
dream.
is,
Yeah.
you know, like you gotta have that passion for it. I mean, you don't jump into these properties without a bit of passion. However,
Of course,
you do at some point have to go, okay, now that we've done that, let's go take a look at
Are
the
there
roof.
really enough toilets? You know?
Yeah. So it's probably about being clear about what compromises you're willing and not willing to make, and
huge.
what those numbers might look like. Right.
I'm going to throw in one more, just for people to know to research it. If you're going to run a hospitality business and you want to serve alcohol, there is a limited number of liquor licenses available in France.
Right.
And you need to make sure that you can get the liquor license you need with the property that you're buying.
Yes.
And it's generally a case of buying one, and that might not be cheap, and there just might not be one for sale in your area. So if you are counting on that, we have a licence 3, which allows us to serve beer and wine, but we don't have a licence 4, which will allow us to serve greater than 18%, because there isn't one available.
Right. My understanding is there's only so many. There will never be more made, right? And you have to find someone who already owns one at this point to either rent or buy from them. And what someone else told me, you can confirm or deny this, but it was a reliable source, that you can only buy or rent one from your own department or a department that touches yours.
Right.
So like we're lucky here in the Dordogne if you're going to do this because we have a lot of departments around us.
Yeah.
But if you're in the Gironde, you got the Atlantic on one side and the
Even
Pyrenees
still,
on the other. You don't got a lot of options.
I heard there were 2 available in the commune touching us, which is like a much smaller unit, administrative unit. And I still, after much talking with the mayor, I wasn't able to get to even a point of even being considered for renting or buying that license. They just weren't there yet.
Again, it's like
and our mayor's been extremely supportive of what we do, right?
Yeah.
That's a big one. For us, we're really close to the mayor, both physically and emotionally.
Socially,
He wedded us.
Relationship.
What's the word I'm looking for? He
Married
conducted
you?
the ceremony.
Yes.
Anyway, so he's been very kind and very supportive of everything we've been doing. But if you don't have that relationship with the mayor, you're going to have a much harder time.
Well, and when you guys, I'm like speaking for you here, so correct me, but I think you told me when you guys were thinking about buying it, you actually asked for a meeting and told him what you were intending and said, would we have your support?
Sarah insisted on that, and it was
really
worthwhile. And actually, that brings up a very good point with the chateau owner, particularly in something like our situation where we're right in the village. This is the largest building in the village. There's a pride that the village has in a property like our chateau, and you have to be aware of that. And for us, with our business, we wanted to make sure that it also is in service to the village. You know, we invited the people in. You know, we know our neighbors. We know the mayor. We've been invited to the council meetings. You know, we've had they've asked us for use of our property, whether it's the front or adjoining properties.
The town fets, you know.
But having that relationship makes things completely different.
It's a much more enjoyable experience, I think. If you're going to integrate, if you're going to come to France, integrate with French life, and how better to do it than to share your wonderful property with the people around you. And like Steve said, we are I mean, we're in Château de Saint-Germain-des-Prés. I think the chateau was here first, and the town built up around it.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, we are the village, right? Like, it's literally half the size of the village is our property.
Yeah.
So I think if you had a chateau that was further detached from a town, it might not be quite as urgent. But for us, with like such proximity and the town feeling connected to the chateau, you can't come in and be like, no, it's mine now, and you can't come in anymore, and blah, blah, blah. Like, you have to be aware you're custodians of this building, not owners, right?
Yeah, and they are a major part of a community, particularly the ones that are in towns and villages, because they are something that, again, they have pride in, right? The town has pride in it, right? So it's
and you want to respect that.
You have to be aware of that.
And we've made such lovely friends too.
Yeah.
So,
My gosh, of course. It's that's a deep connection there to the sense of place and the people here.
One other thing, sorry.
No, go ahead.
One other thing, consideration-wise, is how much property do you want?
Yeah.
Because that is a big, big thing. I mean, we have 37 acres of land, which means the maintenance on that. You know, that means you need a bigger mower than you're used to, or a tractor, quite frankly.
That's it. If you're going to get a property like that, you have to stop thinking of it as a chateau. You have to start thinking of it as a farm. You have to manage it like a farm.
Wow.
You're not going to Home Depot and picking up a mower or lawn equipment. You need to go to the farm equipment shop that's in some rural community. That's the shop that you need.
So, how much time would you say you guys spend on like grounds maintenance versus chateau maintenance?
Oh, that's a tricky one.
Yeah, I mean, the ground maintenance does take a lot of time. I mean, fortunately for our particular situation, as far as like mowing lawns, for example, it's about 6 hours, and that's
once
because
a week, twice a week.
In the summertime, and particularly in the spring, it can be twice a week.
Wow.
Absolutely, because it just grows like crazy with the warm weather and the rain. Fortunately, most of our property is forested. Obviously, we need to look after the forests as well. There were forest fires, 3 years ago, south of Bordeaux. Fortunately, not too close to here, but we did get the smoke at one point. The fires were big enough. And it's the first time in my life I went, right, we own a forest. Something to be aware of, like that is really scary, you know. So we've had a forestier come and sort of survey our land. He's pretty comfortable with the way our forests are set up. So that's, knock on wood, we're good there.
Yeah.
But you have to be aware of those sorts of things. I mean, big rainstorms, anytime it rains or big winds and the sort of thing, the first thing I do the next day is go out and it's like, okay, what branches have come down? Is there a tree fallen? Is there something that we need to be aware of? I mean, we've been called by the mayor several times. I mean, unfortunately, our wall collapsed earlier this year, end of last year. A section of it, it's a dry stone wall, it's 200 years old, and it just let go. But he called us and he's like, it's covering the road. It's your responsibility.
Yeah.
So Sarah, it was literally the last day of our retreat that we had here, and so
guests going out, wall coming down.
Yeah. So having to deal with that immediately, or we had a tree fall over our wall and cover the road, which is again it's public access road.
Do you mind coming and collecting your tree? Okay.
So you get that call first thing in the morning. It's like, okay, get the chainsaw out. I gotta get this thing off the road.
Yeah.
And those sorts of things you got to be aware of.
It's just with the rainstorm. Sometimes it feels like we turn into a ship. Because it's like, if it's a big rainstorm or if there's hail or something like that, the windows aren't modern windows, right? So we literally run around like a ship and like batten the hatches.
Yeah. You're closing all the shutters.
The wind coming in, the rain coming at you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So those are the sort of things like, I mean, we saw one chateau when we were looking that was fantastic place, but had no property whatsoever. It had basically a courtyard. And that would be okay in certain situations. If you don't want to have that hassle of dealing with property, then
it does exist.
It does exist, absolutely. Or there's even ones. I mean, we toured one with our estate agent, where it's a large chateau that has been segmented into apartments. So you can actually own a small section of a bigger chateau. And it's
co-ownership is a thing. We have friends who bought into one of those.
That's actually really interesting. That's another business model that we really didn't even think about, depending on what your particular skills and experience are.
I can't even imagine what it would take to develop a chateau into one of those. I think
that's true.
Yeah, you want the developer to do it.
You probably don't want to do that.
Planning permission? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that would be pretty measured. That's one of those things where you need to buy the chateau like 10 years ahead of time before you think, and then you like start all of that and just like keep living your normal life somewhere and then like
and
have a project manager.
Or have
you just
investors.
like
Have your investors ready to go.
And if people think you're exaggerating about the 10 years, they are not.
No.
It's 10 years. Plan 10 years.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, like just us, right? We have a normal house, but in rural France, right? Which things do take longer. But we started working with our architect in October 2023, and the first demo just started last week.
Right.
So that's been what, a year, over 2 years?
2 years, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm happy with everyone we've hired and what we're doing and all the things, but it just takes a long time.
Yeah, and you see no surprise on either of
No,
our
you're
faces.
like, oh, yeah, tracks.
We had we had an introduction to a local Château, an older gentleman, and he's had his property. He's in his 80s now. He inherited it from his uncle when he was in his 30s, and he has worked with the Monument Historique to restore his completely gutted, completely derelict. Ceiling had fallen in all the way through 2 floors, all the way down to the bottom great room. 50 years. 5-0 for him
That's
to
a
get the planning
lifetime
and permission to restore a room that was derelict. There was nothing to save.
You couldn't actually be in the room. Like that's
it was just like open 3 stories, and he like, can I put a roof on this? And they're like, well, let's talk about it. So yeah.
Okay, so with all of these things said, what makes it worth it?
You know what makes it
We
worth
live in a chateau.
Yeah, it's driving up to it every time.
Yeah.
You know, and going, wow,
That was
like that
mine.
we get to live there.
Yeah.
Like you do have to have that mentality of, as Sarah said earlier, we're custodians of these properties. So there's something, you have to have that love for old buildings and want to look after them. You know, we're one of numerous people that will be, you know, occupying this space, and that is something that you have to have a passion for, and that you're willing to do.
We've had such an amazing time with our guests. That geeky feeling I was talking about, back at the beginning is just like we've hit that a few times, and it's just, oh my God, it's such a good feeling. You know, like it's
you've
just
created
so right.
the place that you set out to create.
Yeah.
Right. That like where creativity and connection and an appreciation of art can all intersect.
And watching people like truly relax and truly become themselves and just have that moment of grace is just like amazing.
And having the property to be able to make that happen in a unique and beautiful situation is just adds to the joy of it all, quite frankly. You know? And we love it. I mean, you know, we wouldn't have gotten into this if we didn't love old properties. You know, our housing adventures have gone from a tiny little cottage of, you know, 1,100 square feet to, you know, moving up, and I don't think we're going to get bigger. God, the thought, the terrifying. But it's at every point it was leading us to something that we wanted to get to. I think we were always trying, you know, whatever. We seem to have a ticking clock that goes, okay, we need a life change, and that change has happened. And I think this is now maybe the destination that we wanted to get to.
Sticky,
right?
That like prepared you.
We've done everything else. Like we've done home ownership. You know, we're decent looking after properties and things like that. We can figure out the problems, and you know that all those skills that we've developed over the years have gotten us to a place where we feel like we can actually make this one work for us. And that's, you know, that's our journey. You know, I mean, if you've got more money, great.
Have a
If you've got more skills, great. You
Yeah.
know, like I mean, there's people that, you know, if you're a carpenter or a skilled engineer that, you know, looks at one of those and goes, you know what, I just want to start and play with it and build it myself. You know, then you know there's all sorts of avenues to take to this kind of building, but you know, it's a passion, but those rose-colored glasses have to come off at some point.
To me, it sounds like there's like for you guys, there's been an overlap between something you're passionate about, and actually having, while not obvious experience that transferred, you did have a lot of life experience that transferred to skills that are helping make you work. And then on top of that, like the satisfaction balanced with the willingness to live the reality. right?
Yeah, very well put. Yeah, very well put. Well, and the relationship, I mean, we've been together for 21 years now. You know, it's also that sort of thing where we know each other. We know how to balance each other. Yeah, we trust each other. We respect each other's, you know, strengths and weaknesses, and that's a critical thing to this kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it depends on who you're doing it with. If you're doing it on your own, or if you're doing it with, you know, we know people who are literally doing it with their entire family. Wow. There's 5 members of the entire family, and they're making it work. And it's, you know,
and we know people who are doing it on their own.
Yeah, we do indeed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for. I'm so excited. We're having the Welcome to France party here at.
We're excited for that too.
Oh, we are too. I wanted a place that, while it's grand and beautiful, it still had a warmth and felt like a home.
The other one that I think your viewers might be interested in is our French immersion event. So it's language, cuisine, and culture. And it is for the people who just want to be a little bit more French. You know, you've maybe got some basis of language, but you're maybe not quite, you're still tripping a little bit. Yeah. We've got an amazing instructor coming in, Elodie, and so she's going to help people sort of gain their confidence and get a little bit more fluent, and we're going to do that by interacting in France and just hanging out and going to the markets. Nice. And we've got a bunch of activities planned, and it's going to be like this whole cultural moment. We've got the chefs coming in, so the food is going to be, these are the little cordon bleu chefs, Valerie and Megan are coming. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that'll be great.
So it's going to be just a week of amazing being more French. So I think that might appeal to some of your audience.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Especially when, like, sometimes you're planning to move to France and it's still a little ways off.
Yeah.
So I think,
but you don't want to lose France. You want a little more France.
Exactly. Yeah. A little more France in my life. Yeah. So, okay. Oh, yeah. That sounds very fun.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys again for sharing all of this wisdom.
Thank you for coming. And you were welcome. You were welcome anytime.
Thanks for watching.
A bientôt.